I've been taking some time for myself to process, to um, release some things that I've been holding on to for quite some time, and really kind of take a step back and look at my behavior, look at my words, look at my actions, and really kind of take a level of inventory that I believe is necessary from time to time as my inside game requires is to stop all the processes per se that I'm doing during the course of a day and kind of look at my life as a body of work or look at a period of time as a body of work and play and assess what I appreciate about it, what I'm grateful for about it, what I'm aware of that perhaps is not necessarily some choices that in hindsight I'd make again. But the idea is to just be able to look at it. And it led me to a place where I realized there were some things that I had allowed to take place in and around my life that many years ago I swore I would never tolerate, never allow, never permit ever again. And in kind of replaying this period of time as almost like a movie and observing myself and others who participate in my life and look at, what I said, what they said, and really try to understand what it was that I was thinking at the time that created some level of permission that somehow something that was not okay was okay. And I realized that I had rationalized certain aspects of the experience as okay because I was getting something else from it. That I made something that wasn't okay because I was getting some other need met. And perhaps from time to time we all experience that, and for some of us it's okay. And for me it's important to look at excuse me. For me it's important to look at um, what's still not sitting right with me. And the way that usually happens for me is I start to feel it in my body. So I check in on the experience, the behavior, the things that I rationalized, the things that I made okay, and my eyes start to fill with tears. And I start to feel a deep sadness in my chest. And I realized that it was something that for me that I went against, something that I swore was very important to me. And I realized that what it led me to, and this is a component of the inside game that in many ways can be separate and apart from other components of the inside game because it is, in fact, from my perspective, the most vulnerable place that I can go to, which is that place and that willingness to forgive myself for judgments that I've held against other people and subsequently against myself. And it's really exposing because in essence what I'm really doing is it's like I'm moving the furniture around inside of me, like I'm redecorating my brain and creating a more codified, more deliberate, more direct pathway to my own heart. So for me, I realized that part of it was in the embarrassment of the self-neglect that I had to be not only aware of that, but I had to move into kind of a place for me where I realized that in essence, I went back on my word, which can happen from time to time, and not just trying to justify it or rationalize it as okay, because it's really not okay. And I did it. I did it. I made the choice. It's a choice, folks. It's a choice. And there are consequences for choices that we make. Consequences we kind of associate always with a negative, but sometimes it's just as a result of the choice we make, we're going to have a certain experience where this is just the consequence of that. But then I realized for myself, it's like, okay, so what's the plan? So the plan is always for me is self forgiveness, but it's really how I get there and why I go there. Because to me, it's about what are the ways in which sorry, I keep clearing my throat here, but this is obviously stuff that's being unlocked here. But how do I get back in integrity with myself and other people as a result of that? And that pathway for me has always been around self forgiveness. And it's the most vulnerable, man. It is just simply the most vulnerable. But I realized something this time for me that I'd never really examined before and saw before and really understood before in the process of going through this self identification around what I need to do for myself. Because a part of me goes, well, how did I get here? Like, how did I create a scenario where I went back on my word to myself? And I realized that part of it is because I had not really ultimately forgiven myself completely from the original issue, from the original challenge. So you hear things like in your head, you go, I swear to myself I would never do this again. But I realize that just in saying that, the energy around that is very almost fearful, angry, fearful, scared. And I realized that I had never really fully forgiven myself the first time around, so that my swear I'll never do it again was really more of a reaction than a level of action that I planned to take. That it was more a reaction rather than something I was going to create moving forward. That was a huge awareness for me. And this was just recently. That's why I love this work, because I'm always open to the new awareness. But I realized I swear I'll never do that again. I'll never allow that in my life. It was really just coming from a place of fear instead of just fully in acceptance of it the first time, going through the process of self forgiveness and really letting it sink in and in many ways go. So I was still judging it. So it wasn't really 100% clean. So to me, it was important for me to look at and go, that was the choice I made. And not to deny it, but to fully accept it, of deepening into it, and really in many ways of accepting my own humanity and the imperfection that comes along with it. And this just huge awareness for me that life is not a it's not a test to see who gets all the answers right. It's really a game where love wins regardless of what it says on the scoreboard. So the willingness in the end and in the beginning to be kind to oneself, to allow missteps along the way, to deepening the process of forgiveness so that it's not done from a place of sadness and of still existing somewhere inside of me judgment or fear or anger or uncertainty around it, but really just going, wow, I really own and accept that I made the choice that I made. I'm so grateful for the wisdom and the understanding of perhaps why I did it, of how I made something that was not okay, and how my brain, like your brain, can trick me into thinking things and doing things and rationalizing behaviors. But instead of just judging that, instead of judging that, having the awareness of it, is just to move into a place of forgiveness around it. Forgiving myself and forgiving others for things that were said, things that were done, behaviors that I swore off, and going, oh, that's interesting how I ended up there again. Or, wow, what did it really take? Or what was I really, really willing to sell a part of myself in order to get something else, to accept that as a consequence of getting something else? What was I willing to give up? What was I willing to relinquish? And I will tell you that the time separated from the situation and circumstance, the real 30,000-foot view of it, of re-experiencing it, and in many ways, not quite recognizing myself in certain situations, was really, really powerful. And there were tears that were shed. Sometimes it was I was talking to somebody and owning it and realizing it felt it was important to say it to certain people that are a part of my life, that would get it, would understand it, would appreciate it, would also see that I'm a student of this work too, that I don't get a free pass because I have a bigger toolbox. And then just allowing myself to forgive myself for the choices that I made, to forgive myself for behaviors that I allowed, and just accept it. And just to observe it and just to allow it to be there in front of me, alongside of me, at times within me. To stop thinking that I've created a bar for myself where I have to get all the answers right on the test. That's not what life is. Life throws us interesting curveballs and straight down the middle and knuckleballs. You name the pitch. It can be coming to you. The difference is that when you choose, and when I chose a long time ago to live a more conscious life, to be more present in it, not everybody's going to do it. Like, not everybody's going to go there. There's energy and effort that's required in order to live at that level. There has to be a willingness to look at things that can be uncomfortable. But the simple fact that I was willing to go that is, to me, it's a lifelong journey. So I don't look at anything that I'm doing and say, oh, from an inside game standpoint, I'm complete. I don't need to do anything else. I can stop now. No, I have to do this every day. And I don't say have to, like, oh my God, like it's a weight. No, it's a responsibility that I take on. And sometimes I fall short of that responsibility. And sometimes things that I firmly convinced I'll never do again or allow again, I've allowed again. The key is deepening the process each time so that I'm catching myself sooner. And I'm realizing that if I'm genuinely going to be able to operate from a place of my heart, like that my heart is going to say, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Or, that's not okay. And to be willing to share that and willing to express that. Because the more I hold on to that and the more you hold on to that, the more we are allowing life to call the shots. Stuff's going to happen. None of us, you always hear me say this, oh, none of us escape stuff. None of us. It's just what we do with this stuff. It's the choices that we make as stuff is coming towards us, sometimes coming at us. Sometimes it's self-generated, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're just in this kind of space, in this phase of our lives where Just so much is swirling around us, and then we get to pull back. So I encourage you in the process of developing not only an inside game plan strategy, and that's the stuff that I'm working towards and building out right now with my website, to be able to do that, but also to be able from time to time to really kind of take a step back, to really take that being the best observer to a different level. Just put everything on pause for a minute and just replay everything and pause and look at it and examine and say, okay, am I in integrity with myself and other people, or have I compromised that on some level? And if I've compromised that on some level, that's okay. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means what are the ways in which we can get back in integrity with ourselves, because that is so important. And as a result of getting back in integrity with ourselves, we're getting back in integrity with other people. And that is the work of self-forgiveness. Forgiving myself for the judgments that I've held against myself, for the choices that were made, for the things that I allowed, to forgive myself for being in a place where I could not clearly see in that moment what needed to be seen. And that is not a crime. It's one, to have the awareness that that's what's taking place. And it's two, to then do something with that. See, the inside game is unto itself is just the inside game. The outside game unto itself is just that. When you bring the two elements together and you work your inside game, and then you take a different level of action in the world, now you've basically married the two. Now they're in partnership with each other. And you get to go back and forth between the two of them throughout the day. So I pulled back, even from just the day to day. I pulled back one day and I just go, you know what? I'm just going to take today. I'm going to be kind and gentle with myself and allow whatever needs to come forward to come forward. Whatever needs to be made and brought into greater awareness, to allow that to come forward. And it did. And some of it was shocking, and some of it stung, and some of it brought tears to my eyes, and some of it made me laugh, and some of it made me smile. It was all of it. But then I got to take the forgiveness component, to forgive myself and others, to free myself, to get back into the present moment. And in the process of doing that, I not only accept my humanity and understand that I'm not a human being having a soulful experience, but a soul having a human experience. When all of that just kind of comes together and makes me realize, oh, okay, I've got this. You've got this. We've got this. I'm Mitch Newman. We'll see you again next time.